Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever in the world you may be joining us from today. My name is Francesco Del Carpio, and I am the CFA York Operations Coordinator. I would like to officially open the second session in our Mine Action, Innovation, Sustainability, and Global Partnership speaker series, presented in partnership with the Advanced Disaster and Emergency Rapid Response Simulation Lab here at York University, the SubSphere Corporation, and AvioTrax. I would like to begin today with a land acknowledgement. First Nations peoples have lived on this part of Turtle Island for millennia, stewarding the land, the water, and all that contributes to life in this region. Today, the culture and presence of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples enrich the lands and people of this territory. More than 2 centuries ago, the Mississauga people welcomed settlers to this territory, providing sustenance and engaging in trade and commerce. Between 1781 and 1820, 8 treaties were signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who opened their territory to settlement. Today, York University's Gill campus is located on Toronto Purchase Treaty Number 13 lands and is situated on the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. Treaty history is foundational, and it is our collective responsibility to honor the land as we honor and respect those who have gone before us, those who are here, and those who have yet to come. We are grateful for the opportunity to be learning, working, and thriving on this land, and we commit to learn the truth and be active in the process of reconciliation. As this is an online event and our participants may be joining from various locations, I strongly encourage you to learn about the traditional land upon which you are located. With this, I would like to welcome our moderator, our speakers, and our participants from around the world. Welcome to our webinar. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our moderator today, Michelle Arif. Michelle Arif is an R&D coordinator at SubSphere Corporation with a strong track record in project management and the strategic application of emerging technologies for disaster risk reduction. She holds a master's degree in disaster and emergency management and has a robust background in applied geospatial technologies and climate science. Michelle, thank you very much for moderating today's session and your ongoing help in putting the series together. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesco. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you guys for our second session for the series. Like we said earlier, feel free to pop in where you're joining us from. The series that we're running this time is called the Humanitarian Demining series. So we're focusing on innovation, sustainability, and global partnerships, which we have really exciting speakers joining us today. Today, we'll explore how climate change acts as a risk multiplier and explore landmine contamination while focusing specifically on the demining complexity in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. So, very interesting topic. The Zoom chat box is open. That's for community dialogue. Feel free to connect and chat in there. But if you have specific questions for our speakers, please put them in the Q&A box. And we'll get to those questions at the end of our presentation. So today we're joined by two exceptional speakers, Sergii Nerpii, who is the Partnership and Resource Mobilization Lead at UDS, which is Ukraine Demining Services, and Shahab Moeini, Director and Strategy Lead at SubSphere Corp. Sergei brings over 25 years of experience in designing and implementing large-scale development programs across the region. His portfolio includes projects funded by USAID, GIZ, the European Union, DFID, and United Nations agencies such as the UNDP and FAO. His areas of expertise span economic growth, economic governance, public financial management, international trade, EU accession processes, public administration reform, SME competitiveness, and policy development with a strong focus on monitoring, evaluation, and learning, MEL. Sergii joined the Ukraine Demining Services, or UDS, which is one of the largest private mine action operators in Ukraine in the year 2025. This is where he leads donor engagement, international cooperation, and the full project lifecycle from concept development through implementation and reporting. He develops and manages partnerships with technical assistance programs, embassies, international financial institutions, and institutional donors supporting humanitarian, demining, and recovery efforts in Ukraine. Presenting alongside Sergei is Shahab Moeini, a recognized expert in unmanned systems, drone technologies, and advanced remote sensing, with more than 25 years of multidisciplinary experience spanning humanitarian operations, defense innovation, emergency management, and academic research. He is a strategic leader in AI-enabled autonomous systems, specializing in integration of UAV, UGV, and sensor fusion technologies for high-risk and mission-critical environments. His expertise includes unmanned systems, operational deployment frameworks, AI-driven analytics, and the development of scalable technological solutions for explosive hazard detection, landmine contamination assessment, and post-conflict recovery operations. He also has a strong background in emergency and disaster management, and Shahab has led complex operational initiatives in high-risk areas, designing technology-enabled response models that enhance situational awareness, rapid assessment, and operational safety. His work bridges field operations with advanced analytics, ensuring that emerging technologies translate into measurable humanitarian and defense impact. His expertise combines operational experience, engineering rigor, and strategic vision, positioning him at the forefront of next-generation autonomous systems and AI-enabled mission technologies. So that's a lot to put together, but these two experts will paint a beautiful picture on what's happening in Ukraine and how climate change and other factors are affecting the landmine contamination and kind of go over the entire complex situation in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. So with all that said, I'll open the floor up to Sergei to begin the presentation, and Shahab, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Yeah, go ahead, Shahab.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. I'm a little bit late in Zurich, so had some issue in the train. And I like this resiliency of Ukraine that in any condition they can present perfectly and operate. And while I stuck with Switzerland in the train delay. So as Michelle expressed, I work with the SubSphere, and it's an honor to work with the UDS, learn from them, from their field experience, and then collaborate on the remote sensing AI-based mine detection and NTS, as well as remote sensing. So I leave the rest to Sergei will explain about the situation, the complexity, and the necessity of this operation.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for the organizer inviting me to this, to this event. I now realize, Michelle, that these presentations that we do for ourselves, describing ourselves, should be way much shorter. There should be 2 sentences probably. But anyways, I think, everyone by now is just there, and I'm sort of prepared to tell you a little bit about this project that we are trying to implement together with SubSphere in Ukraine. And basically, I think Shahab have very briefly described, what are we trying to do here. I think just before I start explaining why we're here, what we're going to do, and how we're going to do, and a little bit about the project itself, I think it's important to just sort of mention that UDS is going to sort of be managing and the implementation of the project. Using the remote control demining systems and certified personnel basically on the ground. And SubSphere is going to provide, top high-end technology related that is based on also detection technologies, unmanned systems, and remote sensing data processing. We have already doing some work together in this respect with the SubSphere, so I guess this is going to develop into sort of a deeper relation as we're going to start implementing this project. Let me just sort of give you a very brief description about UDS, so you have the understanding actually why are we trying to do this. So UDS is one of the largest Ukrainian certified national mine action operators. It was established in 2024. UDS is a member of the UN Global Compact as a company that is operating in accordance with the ESG, environmental, social, and governance principles. The company employs 281 people and manages 5 demining departments. UDS is one of the few companies of mine action operators in Ukraine that has 8 certified mine action processes in its portfolio. Not going to go into details what are those. We have certification for all mine action processes except for the demining using animals, basically dogs. Just into retrospective, in 2025, UDS cleared more than 3,000 hectares of Ukrainian land and actually has the capacity to clear nearly 12,000 hectares a year. So this result could be only achieved by using remote control machines and mechanisms because they are faster, cheaper, and safest method of demining. And the main machine for implementing this goal is remotely controlled humanitarian demining machines that are actually made in Ukraine. They're called Germina URCM 3000, which are produced in Ukraine by Kramatorsk heavy machine tool plant. Also, one thing that I'd like to mention that, of course, UDS is certified to comply with the international standards, ISO 9001, ISO 14001, that are related to environment management systems. Also, international standard in relation to occupational healthy and safety management system. So these are the machines that are using for the mining, and as I mentioned to you, here is the Germina 3000. These two are actually made in Ukraine, the Germina 3000, the mining machine, and ZMI ground robotic cleaning complex, which is a sort of a smaller machine in this respect. Where Chernobyl stands in the list of priorities of the government, and I would like to give you a sort of a very brief introduction, general what is happening with the mining in Ukraine and what are the priorities of the government, just sort of in a little larger, wider picture. So as a result of the unprecedented scale of the mine threat that Ukraine has faced as a result of the armed aggression of the Russian Federation, Ukraine has become one of the most explosive contaminated countries in the world in a very short period of time. So government assessment is there potentially mine territory at approximately 137,000 square kilometers. So this, of course, does not only possess a direct threat to the lives and health of millions of citizens of Ukraine, but also hinders the recovery of the economy, the return of people to their permanent places of residence, the use of critical infrastructure, and the development of the communities. So in general, the government goal in respect to the demining is actually to return 80% of the potential hazardous area to a productive use by 2033. This basically should happen in 7 years. Just to give you into sort of again into a little retrospective, as UDS started to operate on the market in 2024. In 2024, the total area that was clear was 38 kilometers, 38 square kilometers. And in 2025, these number grew to 140. Now you can do a very simple math and understand how long it will take actually to clear the lands that are potentially mined. The other thing that has to be mentioned that in case of the ceasefire or stop of the military actions that are going to go that are happening now, probably this is going to double. So yeah, the scale is quite big. So 2024, 140 kilometers cleared. Now, UDS actually cleared nearly 25% of this territories, which we are very proud of. So just sort of going into main priorities of the government. Government is investing lots of time and money in the mining, and probably just sort of going from the top to the bottom. Government is spending money actually for the non-technical survey of all accessible territories. This is the first task that is there. Secondly, agricultural land. Now in 2024, there are discussions, and actually I think in 2026, the government will start giving money to the mining of the woods and, among other things, other infrastructure. And then at the bottom of these priorities is water and sea. So this is going to happen only when there will be a ceasefire, and probably 3 months after that. So these are sort of the priority of the government. So where actually Chernobyl fits sort of in a woods, because most of the territory of the Chernobyl are actually woods. So it's not sort of a very high priority for the government, but they think that this should be done. So for this matter, we actually have been in contact with the organizations that are responsible for the Chernobyl area in general, and for the safety of what is happening there in terms of the demining. And again, because this is not a priority for them, we signed a memorandums that allow us to actually conduct a non-technical survey on the Chernobyl exclusion zone, but equally search for donor support to implement this project. So this is actually what we do together with SubSphere, and this is what independently is done by UDS, because as I mentioned, this is not a priority for the government. The government is actually prepared to support this activity, but is not prepared actually to finance this. So because this is not some sort of a ordinary task, UDS put together a team of scientists, practitioners, and mining experts. They actually either worked in the Chernobyl area before, or been part of the Chernobyl activities when actually this tragedy happened. And we prepare an analytical report. It's called the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone as an object of the humanitarian mining, where we collected, analyzed, and summarized the information necessary for actually preparing a project request, and also for basically organizing the work in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. I guess I'll go very briefly on the main sections of the report that we prepared. Unfortunately, it's only in Ukrainian, but I think at one point of time we might translate this into English, because this is basically a very good readout for somebody who is actually into it. So, anyways, so basically the what is in the report is just sort of a general understanding of the origin of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and basically the territories. What type of activities were conducted before the Russian occupation, which sort of demonstrates the importance of that these activities should be sort of started again, and how important they for the economy of Ukraine. Provided a general radiological and safety characteristic, and in particular from the perspective of conducting demining activities. Special attention was paid to fires in Chernobyl exclusion zone, and to the procedures and documents regulating the presence and performance of work in the Chernobyl zone. Then we sort of described and looked into details and with contact information on how this organization operate, about the enterprises and organization of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and their sort of interest in the humanitarian demining, and who is responsible for what, because this is quite a complex and layered organizations, where different organizations are responsible for different parts of the operation within the zone. And the final section of the main part provides an assessment with the list of the objects that need to be demined. So this is a sort of a map of the exclusion zone, and I just wanted to provide you with the sort of scale. I don't know how well you can see on there are two maps basically. On one of them, it's a Kiev Oblast, and Chernobyl is actually located quite nearby Kiev, and it's on the northern part, bordering the Belarus. So this is the exclusion zone itself, the whole of it. The total area of the exclusion zone is 260,000 hectares. Most of that is actually forest, about 140,000 hectares. And of course, there are fallow lands and swamps and peatlands, which is basically turf. So the other map that you have on your right side is actually what is called the 10-kilometer zone. This is the part that was mostly affected and contaminated during the explosion. So basically, this is where the Chernobyl nuclear plant is. This is where the city of Chernobyl is. And the reason why I'm showing you this because and most of the contaminated objects are actually there. So and this is actually where the mining is not going to happen. If we are looking at this map, and I hope you can see this hand, this is basically in this area. So this is where this 10 kilometers exclusion zone is. I mean, just one quick thing to say. When Russia invaded and occupied the Chernobyl zone, the first thing they started actually to dig trenches within this zone, basically in most contaminated area. So I guess one day somebody is going to find what happened with these people after they left. But that's yeah, I think that's not important for our discussion today. So this is also another, I think, important topic that needs to be discussed, which is the radiation within the Chernobyl exclusion zone. So during the Chernobyl accident that happened in 1986, a large number of different radionuclides with the radioactive decay ranging from fraction of a second to thousands and thousands of years were actually released into environment. So most of the released radionuclides had a short or very short radioactive decay and had already decayed, which led to a reduction of radiation dose rate in the area by hundreds and thousands of times. So you can see a list of radionuclides of Chernobyl region that is currently registered in the environment with some of the characteristics that is giving in this table. So basically, the radionuclide, which is 197 Celsius, that has a half decay period of 30 years, is something that is still significant in the environment of Chernobyl. And most of the other radionuclides are either do not exist anymore, or their significance is insignificant. Apologies. So that means that you can work in these environments, but you would need to work in a personal protective equipment that you need to work on when you actually do something there. And basically, the sort of the measure of the effect of radiation on the body is the so-called radiation dose and basically their human radiation could be either external, meaning that there are objects there that are exposed to radiation, or internal. And that's another thing that is, I think it's also important to sort of mention in these circumstances, because in case you eat something, I don't know, I mean, a mushroom or anything, and that fruit or whatever is radiated, or you inhalate it actually, then you will start be sort of ionizing this radiation. You basically becoming an object of that emanates this radiation. So I think it's also important to remember that when this is done, you just need to wear basically a mask that will stop the radiation. So the other thing to be mentioned is the density of radionuclide contamination should be, of course, considered when planning and implementing demining operations. And as I said, because we've done this, research and conducting this assistant in this planning, estimating the radiation doses for different scenarios of work can be provided by a special state enterprise eco center that is based on the Chernobyl exclusion zone and the Ukrainian Research Institute of Agriculture Radiology of the National University of Life Resources and Natural Management, which will be, of course, a part of this work as well. This is very briefly, again, the report that we conducted has lots of different maps of the density of the soil contamination with different types of radionuclides, and this is actually one of them. That is actually, we talked about the 137 cesium radionuclide. So as you can see, the most parts of specifically the sort of southern part of the Chernobyl exclusion zone has very limited density of contamination. So again, as I said, there are different maps that are there, so you can easily check on them and see how this is affecting the process of demining, or in this respect, work in the Chernobyl zone. This slide, I'm going to talk about the fires in the Chernobyl zone. Fires in the ecosystems of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, especially large-scale ones, due to high densities of radionuclide content in this area, have always been a very sensitive event, both for the population of the surrounding areas, for Kiev, but equally for the population of Europe as a whole. Over the past decade, Chernobyl radionuclides during or after large-scale fires in the ecosystems of CES have been repeatedly recorded in the atmospheric air of the number of European countries. And despite of the low levels concentration that are not of radiological significance, this has always caused tension and resonance in the society and of course in the press as well. So basically, the public perception of the fires in the Chernobyl zone is an sort of additional factor to the protection of the ecosystems and need to introduce a comprehensive fire prevention measures in the Chernobyl zone and ensure the effectiveness of the firefighting. So very briefly on the consequences of the fire in the Chernobyl zone. Well, first of all, this is a threat not only to Ukraine surroundings in Kiev, and depending where the sort of the wind blows, but equally for the Europe as well. Radionuclides rise into the air along with the smoke in 2020, and we're going to be talking about that. Smoke in Kiev and the region, radionuclide rise into the air, and the radionuclides were cesium-137, strontium-19, plutonium, americium. So the the destruction that fire brings of the forest leads to blowing and carrying out contaminated soil. Also, the release of radionuclides from plants, ash elements, which can be carried out by the wind over long distances or seep into groundwater, surface water along with the rain. So very briefly on sort of the very one of the largest fire in the Chernobyl exclusion zone occurred in the spring of 2020. That year was very dry, and maybe if somebody here from East Ukraine, you might remember that. So this has recorded the lowest ground water level for the entire period since 1986. The air quality in Kiev deteriorated significantly. And of course, when this happens, rumors spread that it was smoke from the fires in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. This is actually a picture that is on left top. And you can see here, this is actually the Chernobyl exclusion zone, right? So basically, yeah, there was some fires in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, but most of the fires that were actually far away in Zhytomyr Oblast but because wind was blowing towards Kiev, and this is Kiev actually, you can see this, where the smoke blow. So the other thing is that this probably you can see on the map, which is a little bit down, and this is another map, and marked in the red actually is how much burned area was in the Chernobyl zone. So this is the whole of the Chernobyl zone, and probably 1/3 of it was covered by the. So this was a very, very serious fire at that period of time. And here is just illustrative picture how the fire is taking down in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. One thing just to mention is, well, if the woods are burned, then probably there is no issues. Actually, it's vice versa. According to the Chernobyl radiation and ecological biosphere, the forests that were affected by the fire has a very significant potential for natural regeneration, and this could be between 66 to 81%. So in practical terms, this means that in 5 years after the fire, the territory is again fire hazardous. I think this is also something to remember, that it recovers very quickly. Also, when we conducting this report, according to the representatives of the Association of the Environmental Professionals, given the amount of the dead wood, the condition for the largest fire of all times have already been created. So luckily enough, last year we had a dry and relatively cold summer, so there were not many fires in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. What are the sort of other factors that are affecting the security situation in Chernobyl exclusion zone? Well, of course, the proximity of and length of the border with Belarus. So the length of the border is 155 kilometers, and it's unfortunately, they gave the passage for the Russian troops to attack Ukraine in February 2022. Will this happen again? I hope not. Secondly, the Russian occupation of the Chernobyl exclusion zone and active hostilities in certain parts of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Yes, there were hostilities actually there. When Russian troops were first out of the SEZ, they left behind mines and other explosive devices. You can see some of them in these pictures. And unfortunately, they're in various parts of the SEZ. They also destroyed quite lots of infrastructure within the SEZ. Thirdly, there is a constant attempt, and for those who live in Ukraine, they know this for sure, to send Shaheeds or other unmanned aerial vehicles through the territories of Chernobyl exclusion zone. And of course, the Ukraine Defense Forces have to fight that. And the other thing is, because of the proximity of the border and because this happened before, now the location of the units and the creation of defense positions of the defense forces within the Chernobyl zone. So after the retreat of the Russian troops, their scattered ammunition was found in many places, and as I mentioned, you can see some of them on the pictures. The police came across hideouts of occupants with the mining charges. They look like hoses, but were filled with the plastids. Also, giving the organized and remote mining of the territories by Russians, most of the areas of the exclusion zone are actually danger and not surveyed for the mines yet. And this is quite a sensitive and closed information, but as of July 2023, there have already been 8 explosions of both equipment and workers and military personnel in the exclusion zone. This led, of course, to injuries and numerous deaths of the people, as well as damage of the equipment. In case of mine explosion and the death of the firefighter of the State Emergency Service, you can see one of their cars exploded on the mine in September 2024. There are also numerous information about the death of animals that explode on the mines, including the pleasure valves, horses, and other animals. So even before the war, there were numerous accidents when all sorts of idiots, which are called stalkers, have trespassed the territories of Chernobyl exclusion zones. And sadly, there are reports of people that have blown up on the mines. So this is a sort of the general security situation. Moving now, finally brought you to the sort of actual thing that we are planning to do. So in coordination with the national authorities and international partner, including SubSphere. So basically what we want to do is we want to demine the forest roads and fire breaks. And this would allow, or actually for, easy passage, putting down the fires. But equally, this will open the opportunity to actually conduct a comprehensive research of the territories to understand what is the scale of the whole demining of the entire Chernobyl zone. So basically, the area that needs to be demined is approximately 80,000 hectares. The reason for that, and I think I'll come back very quickly on the map here. Okay, the reason for that is that by the Ukrainian legislation, there are a couple of things. First of all, you cannot mine anything that is closer to 20 kilometers to the border of Ukraine. And basically what happened, we have a railway that goes straight here. So this territory will not be available for the mining at this point of time. Then there is a gray area here that is the left bank of the Pripyat River that is not available for the demining. So basically what is, and again, remember this is the 10 kilometers of most contaminated territory. So basically what is available for the demining is the area here, here, and here. So all of that approximately is 80,000 hectares. And according to the regulatory requirements, you can sort of calculate how much their areas related to the forest roads through the woods and how much is the area of the fire breaks. These two pictures are sort of idealistic pictures. I think specifically for the fire breaks, because nothing actually happened for the, I guess, 3 to 4 years. They would probably be now covered by all sorts of plants and etc. As for the forest roads, probably they're a little better, but they still need to be done. This, of course, will be done by the machines that we're planning to use in this operation. And what sort of the following mine actions activities will be undertaken. This will be non-technical surveyed for, and this survey will be actually for the areas of forest roads and fire breaks. Then we will do a continuous markings of hazardous areas. This will allow actually for people not go into the areas that are hazardous. And also we'll do the machining, the demining by using the machines, followed by manual clearance, which is the standard procedures. And then, in case be needed, we'll do the manual demining. Okay, I think we ran over the time, but I'll try to just sort of be very quick now, because I think I have another. I think I have another one more slide. So this is a standard algorithm for the demining operation. I don't think I will stop here, because first of all, because I think you will be sharing this with you. There's a lots of activities that need actually to be done before you actually entering the territory of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. One thing probably that I should mention, that because this is a specific operation that needs a little preparation, so lots of things are happening actually before you enter the zone. But this is in general explaining how things are happening. And this is a very simplistic explanation, because it takes time and lots of coordination with different organizations. So this is something that, it just sort of brings you an understanding how this is working. And I think, yeah, this is the last slide. Shahab has to tell me how much time we have. We
Yeah,
either can yeah.
Yeah, we have about 15 minutes. Some questions are there. And if I may add, Sergey, each time I listen to the Chernobyl story, there's more to learn, even though I have information previous from your side and the UDS. And one part is the equipment that's been used in this area. There's a high possibility of being exposed to the radioactive and have to be disposed after that, so it cannot be reused. It is one of the challenges. One of the other challenges we have regarding the mapping of the area is not just a simple AI, census data and all this. It's a reality of multi-layer hazard issues, materials areas. So UXOs, scattered ammunition, fire-sensitive areas, and potential areas that have been affected by current and the future threat, that we can analyze where and which direction this possibility of next danger can be and how it can be handled. Safety of the team is very important. That's what we will work together to see what will be the kind of the whole map of the operation, the visual way, not just from the AI and a drone to detect explosive hazard, but all the layers to be implemented and provide a roadmap of the safe operation to the crew. UDS team will be directly like frontliners working in that region, even though they use a machine. But we will try to minimize by very accurate analysis of the data previous to operation, minimize the risk to the personnel and all the equipment as well. Their equipment is very expensive equipment, hard to repair. Lag time of repairing the equipment is long, if possible to reuse them after this. So that is kind of the layers that have to come together, and it's an opportunity for us to work in a real scenario, not just based on the lab-based data. So hopefully we can finalize the area of the operation and plan the operation before getting into that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is something very important to mention. I think also along the lines, this is an interesting case in terms of, I don't think anyone had done this before. So I think it's also a very interesting case in terms of, researching being there and and assess the, sort of what happened or what will happen actually after demining is conducting, and you just sort of have access to some of the areas of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, because as I said, now I mean lots of these areas have just not been seen by anyone. So this is also something to be mentioned. I think I'll stop here, and I'll happily will take any questions. And as I mentioned earlier, we are looking for any opportunities and possibilities to actually raise funding for this activity, and be happy to follow up and more explanation or presentation if be needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergei, and thank you, Shahab, for jumping in. We have 4 questions here, so maybe we have about 10 minutes for questions. So just to give you an idea of how long you have to answer these, maybe Shahab can talk a bit more about the role of autonomous technology in demining. If it gets to that, I think there's one question specific to that.
Sure,
Yeah.
I can explain that one quickly. So we try to reduce the exposure of the personnel to the area during the non-technical and technical survey. The contamination area is vast, as Sari mentioned. So we use the autonomous vehicle for the surveying of the area, and then ground rovers to assess the situation in much better close look into the area that are suspected area or mapped with a high sensitivity. And in some cases, we are looking at integrating some of our partners, like Sacramento, Canadian partner with robotic arm, which has a high AI-based sensitivity in case it's necessary to remove not only explosive, but maybe some contaminated material that left from the explosion or scattered there for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and to that effect, this is a question that kind of ties in a little. Mark is asking, is there an application for multispectral sensor arrays that can be mounted on drones for detection? Or would you need to understand the technical details of landmine subsurface and potential detection qualities? For example, the metal composition that can be detected by our sensor array. I know we didn't
Yeah,
really
it's quite long. As you know, we did a lot of work with the multispectral before on the research. This is quite sensitive form of the sensor. The data can have the false positive, false negative error in a wide range. So for the sake of the time, if you're interested, I can provide you later the information that we have about the research. At this level, yes, we use definitely the multispectral on the drones, but generally for mapping not related to the explosive, or related to the contamination coverage, land cover, as well as the affected areas by previous fire or the drought period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. And a question for Sergei, does your systems have a hands-on approach for demining efforts, or is this more just to locate and blow up mines as you find them with the machines that you've kind of introduced?
I guess I understand the question correctly. Yes, I mean, usually we send the machines to sort of make the path, and then we have basically here, yeah, you can see this picture. This is where a machine passed, and then you have the miners that go with the frame, and also the miners actually collect any debris. Sometimes you have the debris of the that needs to be collected because you just have sounds going crazy. So this is the way it is. So but there are some cases when, for example, a projectile is in the land and it's deeper, then of course you would need to extract this by hand. You will need to dig and then either extract it or, depending on circumstances, demolish this on the spot.
Okay, so they're not extracted and removed and exploded somewhere else. They're
Well,
usually
depending on circumstances again. If this is something on the surface, then of course it will be just either destructive or blow up by the machine. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is probably in 95% of the cases. But for example, if something is digged like more than 35 to 40 centimeters deep, then of course the sensor will let you know that there is something in the ground, and then you'll need to extract this by hand or explode it on the spot.
Okay. And to that, what is the effect of the residual radiation on these machines? Is there a requirement for decontamination, or do you simply accept that these machines will remain in the contaminated zones? And do you separate
Yeah,
machines?
we had this discussion in
I believe Sergei disconnected for whatever reason.
We did get a heads up about this.
Yeah, we talked about it because the situation in Kiev and Ukraine is not that stable. Unfortunately, it's disconnected right now. Yeah, I don't know exact the impact on details of the residual on the machine, but in some certain area, the machine, after a couple of operations, about 30, 40 hours of the operation, that region have to be disposed. And that's another part of the operation that we have to figure out how to dispose the machine from the drones, ground rovers, and then with the high possibilities, even the mine destroyer need to be disposed.
Perfect. Yeah. So a lot of these questions are related to that, but we'll wait for Sergei to come back. But in the meantime, Shahab, would you like to speak about maybe some problems that maybe existed 10 years ago that no longer exist now due to advanced technology or autonomous systems, kind of in this regard?
Yep. So previously, the mine action, the expert in the mine actions here that much more experienced than me, they're like masters in this field. That recent technologies, drones, autonomous system, remote control, advanced enhanced remote control, AI, just becoming new tools in this field. And we always warn that to new companies or groups who come with the AI that we can solve the problem. No, it's not that easy. It's just one out of many tools in the toolbox of the deminer. With a high respect and appreciation of the work of the deminer and experts of Japan, the experts that are in this meeting and working worldwide, we just try to add one more tools as a collective tools into the toolbox. But at this level, drone helps quite a lot for the scatter ammunition, not just landmine, scatter ammunition, UXOs and explosive devices, and airborne sensor to map the area, analyze the situation, have better understanding of what we are stepping into. And that was a big breakthrough since this remote sensing from satellite become to the drone base. It helps a lot. AI is still in process, and we hope to cross-check the reality of finding of the AI through the synthesis and processes in the lab with the field and what we see in the real world, and that in progress and will enhance the operation hopefully. But again, we need the validation, testing, validation, and confirmation of the subject matter expert to confirm that is active.
Perfect. Thank you. There's another question. You might be able to jump in for Sergei, but Sami's asking, how can national emergency response systems better integrate mine action into broader disaster risk management frameworks within the context of Ukraine?
That's a question for Sergei because he knows the system, but generally that can highlight the impact of the climate change as a multiplier to a man-made disaster that happened before and the war as another one man-made disaster, that how it can exaggerate the situation and cause more damages to the environment, to the people and the human habitat, as well as the habitat of the people that are there. So it's a complex situation, getting more complex. We see the pattern that the climate change somehow has a direct impact negatively in this specific area, exclusion zone, and it had to be taken seriously into consideration because it's not just about the Ukraine, as Chernobyl before, it could be an international disaster.
Yeah,
So
I'm actually back. Yeah,
Okay,
as I mentioned to you, I mean, yeah, the electricity just went off, so I had to sort of regroup a little bit. Yeah, just to add to this, I think we are on the way of doing this. I think currently Minister of Economy is working on this, what they call grid system, that is going to actually aggregate information that is there and actually put this on the map. This is more of a demining activity rather than, something to do with other, fires but I think this is something that perhaps will lead towards also some other, affected areas and fires and etc. that actually could be put on the map as well as a part of this exercise. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have quite a few questions coming in, but we are running out of time. So I wanted to hand it over to Francesco for a bit. And if you guys have any other questions that are, burning questions and you want to reach Sergei or Shahab or myself or Francesco, we're open to continuing this dialogue in another forum. So I'll let Francesco.
Yes, thanks. And any question can be sent to us as well, to me and Sergei, so we will look at it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for that great presentation, Sergei and Shahab. Thank you, of course, Michelle, for helping organize and moderating the session. And thank you to everybody who joined us today and has been asking questions. This is just a quick reminder that the session is recorded. So if anybody wants to revisit anything, it will be up on our YouTube channel in a couple of hours, probably, if not by tomorrow at the latest. I am sharing our social media information, including our YouTube link, in the chat, so anybody can follow there. And I'm also going to put my email in the chat. If anybody has any follow-up questions or anything that we didn't get to that you would like to ask, please send those questions to me, and I'm happy to pass them along to Sergei and Shahab. And I can either put you in touch or relay their responses. And with that, just one last big thank you to everybody, and a final reminder that this is a monthly series going on until the end of the year. So please tune in. It's the third Thursday of every month. So we will be having another session on April 16th, I believe. So yeah, registration is always open and free. So please share it with anyone who might not have registered yet. And we look forward to seeing you all here in about a month. Thank you all so much.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.